that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. We are excited to be here. Rob and I have been rolling on all day, meeting some amazing people,
Yes.
and that is really the power of this event. It's the people that drive this. Not only the people that are attending, definitely the people who are putting it together. It's been an awesome day. Just the setup, the layout, the way we get to connect with people, the sessions. It's just, I can't say enough about it. And especially for our partners to be here, like our partner for the Stronger Together podcast, Tech. And Rob, who's been with me at the whole event. So as people head up to the vendor hall and they mosey on over to booth 500, what are they going to see besides your smiling face?
We have a lot of fun stuff for you to look at. We have robots, we have 3D printers, we have laser engravers, giant interactive flat panels. But what I'm most proud of is my team of educators who are working in the booth, ready to have a conversation and figure out ways to help you, your schools, and your districts.
Awesome. And speaking of helping schools and districts, I want to welcome in Dr. Jeff Carlson, who does some of that work as well with Clever. So Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much.
So for those who don't know you or your work, share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Jeff Carlson, I've been at Clever for about 18 months. Worked at the College Board and on T-Mobile's education team before that. Clever, of course, is known as the rostering and SSO service that's about 70% of schools across the country, about 75% of schools here in New York use our free SSO and rostering services for schools. But in the last few years, we've also added on some cybersecurity tools that schools can choose to work with us if they're looking to get some additional solutions.
Wow, that's new, because yes, I think in the space they think about it and SSO. Can you talk a little more about that cyber tools you have?
Yeah, so in working with that many schools, what we've seen is that SSO is a primary cybersecurity entrance point, right? Like it's easier to have that going in, and it's also more secure than random passwords kind of scattered all over, post-it notes around schools. But what we've started to hear from districts is that they were having trouble. There's one person at the district that's managing all their Google licenses or their Microsoft licenses. And when a teacher retires, maybe they forget to retire that license. And so they're both paying for it. It's also a security risk for somebody to come in through that door, but also on the student side. If a kid transfers out of the district, you may be paying for those licenses. They're also a vulnerability. But then especially with devices being banned from schools, we're hearing a lot more about multi-factor authentication. And so Clever designed kind of a few different ways for kids and staff to use MFA. It doesn't require a second device. And so everything that we do is kind of built on the Clever badge, which is what most schools use. That's their SSO entry. And then there's a variety of different second factors that folks can use for an MFA protection. We're seeing a huge increase in both external hacks on student accounts, but then also student-on-student attacks that way too. So we've seen a bunch of schools looking for support in those two areas.
Wow, that's important work.
Yeah, that's great. I know our Otis platform integrates with Clever.
Yep.
So we appreciate all that because we see the cybersecurity and how important it is. I was just at a CETA conference in Washington a couple of weeks back, and everybody thinks that the buzzword in technology is AI, and it is when you go to venues like this.
Yep.
But when you go up a little bit higher in the food chain, the buzzword is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Because, while it can help a couple of students or a teacher or even a building, cybersecurity can take down a district in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So the importance of that is just so strong nowadays.
And how have you seen that adopted in schools?
Yeah, so we're working with districts kind of across the country. One example I think of, it was a district that was pretty hesitant on the MFA side. They had taken a few years to roll out MFA with their admins and then their staff, and they were a little hesitant on the student side. And it was a 9,000 kid district, and in a couple weeks, they had pretty much gotten everybody rolled out with their MFA. They had already used Clever badges, and so the SSO thing, it was actually pretty easy for a kid to learn, do your badge, and then younger kids a lot of times will use a picture of an animal, a picture of a fruit, or you can use a PIN code for older kids. Even older kids, a lot of times schools will want them to actually know a password, so they'll have those two factors. But frankly, we've seen much smoother rollouts for students than we've seen with staff. There's not a question of, I don't want to use my personal device for this, and union contracts, things like that. And we're not using a second device, so that problem isn't even there. And as with many things in ed tech, kids are sometimes much faster adopters than those of us who have been in the classroom or administrators. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to get used to a new thing.
It makes me laugh because any teacher that says my students can't remember a password does not realize that these students are playing Fortnite, Call of Duty. They have 13 different passwords to their Instagram accounts. To them, somebody, I heard this at one of the conferences and I stole it immediately. We're the digital immigrants. Students are digital natives.
Yeah.
Passwords comes easy to them and they understand, or at least they should be understanding the necessity for the digital security. So the kids grab it a lot quicker than the teachers.
Well, and the thing that we're trying to move toward in the future too is that we all know that like with AI tools, passwords, now it's actually more about length than it is all the special characters, and it's only going to get harder to have one that's long enough, and so people are moving to passphrases. But whether it's biometrics or other things that are going to come in, we're trying to move to a world where you're not necessarily relying on a password. There's other factors that are making you prove that it's you. But we also know, and I was at that same CETA conference a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to some folks. There was a report that came out from the U.S. government that the kids, if you can get data for a kid, it's worth about $300 on the dark web.
Wow.
Our driver's licenses are worth about $10.
Yeah.
Our social security numbers are worth about $1. So think about all the work you do to protect your social security number. It is 300 times more valuable for somebody to be able to hack in and get a student's data, let alone if they're a special education student and there's health data and other factors like that in there. So we need to do more to protect kids' data, thinking about how much we actually spend our own time making sure that our data isn't out there vulnerable. So it's been exciting work to work with schools to figure that out. And sadly, to help schools who have gone through an attack try to be more protected on the back end of those.
Wow, that's impressive. And if you want to learn more about that, you have a session coming up, correct?
Yeah, we've got a session. It's a fun one. We've done this a couple different times. It's almost like a game show. We've got folks coming in from New York City Public Schools, from Lightspeed, and from Rochester, who are going to be talking with me about some of the myths we hear about cybersecurity. One of those is, student MFA is too hard, or we don't know how to do it without a second device. Another one is, I know everything that goes on in my network. And so, we've got Lightspeed coming in to talk about that and what they've seen. And then just a little bit of almost to your point about, hey, kids know a lot of this stuff. Kids do, but they also know enough that we're starting to see them do some student-on-student things, not necessarily even, in a negative way, but it's just, hey, I can get in and play around with this. And so how do you help protect kids from themselves and not necessarily just from external actors?
Yeah, and if you want to check that out, that is tomorrow, November 25th, 9 o'clock in the Oak Tower.
That's right, bright and early.
Bright and early, come on up, learn about this. And sometimes we hear oh, that's not exciting session. But as you're saying, it's so important.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the work that you're doing, you're going to make it exciting. I'm not passing judgment, but sometimes when you look through the sessions, engage with this one, or teaching strategy for this, or MFA.
Well, to Rob's point, we're working with all the largest AI folks out there. We work with Google, on that side. We work with a lot of the different K-12 focus groups. But if you don't figure out how to make sure that your stuff is protected, you can have the best tools in the world and you can be paying for all of them, but nobody can get in and actually use them because somebody's holding you hostage. And so we've got to make sure that we're doing the not so fun stuff well, so that we can enable teachers and kids to be able to do the fun stuff. Yeah.
And I think just working together, again, the name of the podcast, Stronger Together, you work and partner with partners like yourself to make that happen, because it is that collaboration to make sure that it is safe and secure so students can use the tools, the creative piece as well, to get in safely on the single sign-in, to make sure the data is safe. So it is critically important. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, check out Jeff's sessions. It's going to be multiple people there, as he said, talking about the importance of this. But we are going to shift gears, because this is your first time on the Stronger Together podcast.
Yes.
And we have to gather some of our own data.
Sounds good. As long as I can SSO in and then put in a factor.
You just have to answer one question.
It should be a lot easier.
Sounds good. All right.
So we've been asking all of our guests a very simple question at the end, just to get their reaction to it. The name of the podcast is Stronger Together.
Yeah.
When you hear those words, first thing that comes to your mind?
So for me, I was a classroom teacher. My parents were classroom teachers, and my dad was a superintendent. And I went through multiple graduate programs in education, and I never learned about so much of the work that tech teams do. Now, this was a while ago, so tech teams weren't doing as much as they are now. But I think reminding folks out there, whether they're in schools or not, how many things we're asking school systems to do to protect our kids, to feed our kids, to keep them safe and happy, to keep them learning. how much work goes into that there's a huge team of people, even in small school districts, who are making kids feel safe, making them feel comfortable, making sure that they're learning. And it's not just the classroom teacher, even though that's probably more important than anybody else.
Sure.
But when I think about Stronger Together, it's how many people are involved in making sure that a kid gets through their school day feeling good about things and also learning. And when you come to things like Nightskate, you're just reminded how many people it takes to make that happen.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So, Jeff, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely.
And thanks for the work that you do to protect students and data for sure. And good luck tomorrow morning, your session, 9 o'clock.
Thanks so much.
And make sure to check out and follow their work. And where are you in the showroom?
We are in aisle 400 up in the main kind of auditorium concert hall up there.
All right. So after you check out tech, make sure to head over to Clever.
That's right. We're right next door.
Next door, and learn all about the great things that they do. So, Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank
Rob,
you.
we're going to continue on. Here
Sounds
we go.
good.